Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation with me, your host, Owen James. Guys, we're bringing you all the latest Rangers news, and we're starting off with some breaking Rangers news this afternoon. It has been announced in the last few minutes that Rangers have finally formally announced the arrival of JD Gasama from Sheffield Wednesday on a 4-year contract, and there he is with the shirt, guys. It is official. It is now official. He is a Rangers player. Welcome also to Ross. Ross, good afternoon, and welcome to the Nation Loyal, mate. Great to have you as a member. Remember, membership is 99p. Helps to support the channel per month. Guys, look, this is a signing that's been in the offing now for a long time. It's a signing that Russell Martin spoke about, the fact that as far as he was concerned from Rangers' end, it was tied up, it was done, it was dusted, it was good to go. However, it's taken to this point to get us into a situation where the deal is actually done and dusted and finalised. But it's great to have him here. It's great that Gassama has signed before the Champions League deadline, which is tonight at 10 o'clock. So that's fantastic that he is on board. Now this obviously means that he can be added to that squad for the Champions League. And we don't have to worry about that. It's a winger as well. It's a winger. I mean, thank God for that. We've now got a winger at the club. We've got a winger who is here, who is direct, who is fast, who is quick, who is strong, who likes to get to the byline, who likes to have a go from distance. It's the sort of striker that we need, isn't it? And this is a good move. This is a good move for Rangers, and I'm really pleased that this is finally done. And I think there was always a worry, wasn't there? The longer this dragged on, the longer it kind of not stayed in doubt in effect, but kind of. At least, there's a worry over getting it done before the Champions League tie. There was a little bit of a concern over it. But, it's done and dusted now. He's here. Gassama is now officially a Rangers player. Let's have a little look at what has gone on. Ewan C says yes. Welcome, Ewan. What does he say? Let's have a little look, shall we, at what's been said. So, here we go. This is what Rangers have said as regards the deal today formally announced. Rangers Football Club are pleased to announce the signing of JD Gasama from Sheffield Wednesday on a 4-year deal. The exciting winger, who is 21 years old, becomes the latest attacking addition to Russell Martin's squad, having spent the last 2 years in the EFL Championship. Gassama joined the youth ranks of PSG in 2019 after impressing in Brest's academy as a teenager. Signing his first professional contract in July 2020, the youngster made his senior debut for the Parisian outfit 2 years later in a 4-0 triumph over Montpellier in a team which included Lionel Messi and Kylian Mbappe. He then received a call-up to France's under-20 squad in September 2022, featuring twice for Les Bleus' young side against Tunisia. A season-long loan followed for the winger as he joined Belgian outfit KAS, gaining valuable experience in senior football by playing 19 times and netting twice. Turning to the Parc des Princes, Sheffield Wednesday sweep for Gassama's signature in summer 2023, enjoying an impressive debut campaign at Hillsborough, where he recorded 30 appearances. This is a top player. This is a good player. This is a really high-quality player, guys. And all the talk around Gassama has been that if we'd actually paid the market price, the going price for someone like JD Gasama, it would have cost us somewhere in the region of around about £8 to £10 million. This is a great signing. This is an exciting signing. This is a get bums off seats. This is a signing that really will hopefully make a huge difference to Rangers this season, and really help Rangers to kick on and become a top side. JD Gasama has obviously spoken to Rangers TV as regards this transfer, and this is what he had to say. He said, "I'm very happy to be here and to join the club. I'm very excited to start with my new club. It's a club with a lot of history and I'm very happy. This is a big club and I need that for my next level. I think it can help me progress." So, he sees this as a real opportunity to be here, to be a success, to be a top player. That's his desire. And, that's what we want, isn't it, at the end of the day? We want these players, at the club who want to be here, who want to, who see the club for what it is, a big, huge football club, a massive, massive football club. And Gassama's quite clear in that aspiration. Mr. Fantastic Mr. Fox says, "Welcome to Rangers, JD." Afternoon, Fantastic Mr. Fox. How are you this afternoon? Russell Martin also spoke about the arrival of Gassama. He said, "We are excited to bring JD to the club. He is certainly an exciting player who will get supporters on the edge of their seats, and I believe he will add an extra dimension to our attack with his qualities. He is hungry to improve as a player, and most importantly, is desperate to pull on the Rangers jersey and help deliver success to the club." So from what Russell Martin's saying, just taking that comment there, it's clear that he is here to play. He is here to start. He is here to, to get involved from the very beginning, and that is good. Russell Martin wants to use him from the very start, and I'm pleased about that. That this is a starter. This is not a squad player. This is not a depth piece. This is not a development prospect. This is a player who will play. This is a player who will start. This is a player who will go at teams, and make a difference. And Russell Martin, has outlined that he is here to make a difference in the attacking side of the team, and I think that is something that Gassama will certainly do. Sporting Director Kevin Thelwell then added, "We are delighted to secure JD's signature. His attributes are well suited to the challenges that we will face both domestically and on the European stage, and he arrives with considerable experience under his belt at only 21. He's on an upward trajectory in his young career, and we look forward to seeing him in action." Now, one thing to note, guys, this signing, obviously, like I said, this is a player who has got a good level of experience for one so young. He has certainly got experience playing for Paris Saint-Germain in Ligue 1. He has got experience in playing in Belgium. He's got experience at playing in the English Championship. So this is a guy who arrives with a lot of first team experience. This is not a guy who is arriving here having had no first team experience. He was arriving here as a youth player, as a prospect player. He's arriving here as a player with that experience, even though he is only 21 years old. And that is excellent. I mean, that is absolutely excellent. Last season, for example, in a struggling Sheffield Wednesday team, it is worth noting, he made 43 appearances for them, scored 7 goals, had 1 assist and 4 yellow cards during his time with Wednesday in the Championship. So 43 games in the English Championship. And the English Championship, guys, look, I know some of you have doubts about the Championship. I know some of you have been scarred by past signings from the English Championship. The English Championship is a tough league. It's probably the second toughest league in Europe after the EPL. It is very difficult to get out of. The games there are fast, they're intense, they're aggressive. It's certainly a difficult league to play in. So certainly this is a guy who's going to bring that experience. Now, also worth noting, this is a guy who's played over 100 games, has over 8,000 minutes of football. Has made 78 appearances in the Championship, 19 in the Jupiler League, 3 in the EFL Cup, 3 in the FA Cup, 1 in League One, in League 1, sorry. So, he's got first team experience right across the board in a number of different leagues. So he arrives with all of those things. And that, for me, is good. That's what you need. I know that, young players obviously bring their own kind of youthful exuberance and they come in to form part of this transfer trading model, and we'll touch on that in a minute. But he is bringing experience. He's not just some kid who is coming to be a development prospect at Rangers. He is a player who is coming to play, coming to start, coming to make a difference for Rangers. And I think this is a great signing. This is a very good, exciting signing by the club, and it's amazing. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but it's amazing to see so much business getting done. I mean, I don't think, in my wildest dreams, I never imagined that I would see 7, 8 players arrive in this window. I honestly thought 5, maybe 6 at a push might come in this window, even with the number of players we had to clear out. I still didn't expect to see as many come in. And I know, I get there's a worry. The worry is, of course, quantity over quality. But I'm hoping it's quality and quantity that is being brought in by Rangers. Of course I do. Ewan says, sell Dessers, sell Igman if he wants to go. Give Souttar a new contract. Cancel Cifuentes. Make proper play with the kids. Sorted. There you go. Ewan is taking over as sporting director. He's got the plan to take Rangers forward. I mean, certainly if you sold Dessers and you sold Igman, you're looking at somewhere in the region of about £20 million coming into the club there, Ewan, which would be useful to reinvest in the playing squad. Graham Brown, welcome. Graham says, glad about the signing, just worried any new players will not have time to bed in before Champions League qualifies. I mean, that has to be a concern, doesn't it? It really does. It really, really genuinely does. But look, hey, at the end of the day, this is like a player who I think, can make a big difference. And it's a good signing. It's a very, very good signing for Rangers. It really is. And I think we just welcome him. We just welcome the kid. We hope that he can come on, and we hope that he can further develop and get even better than he is at this moment in time. Right, we're going to do a bit of a transfer take on what's going on with the club. I mean, we're going to look obviously players going out. There's a number of players who've been linked with moves away from the club. We're going to look at those players. There's around about 6-7 names on that list at the moment that are linked with exits from the club. There is also some rumours of players coming in still. Bayamba, who is the central defender. We'll talk a little bit about him. We'll talk a little bit of Connor Cody. We'll talk a little bit of Dor Turgeman as well. We've kind of already touched on those. We're not going to spend too long on Turgeman and Bayamba because I've kind of already mentioned them in the videos that I brought out today. But we are going to kind of mention some of the other possible arrivals that we're looking at. Abu Kamara, another one, we've got a bit of an update on him. But we're going to start with exits. I think the one thing we've got to look at now is Rangers are bloated. There's a lot of players in this squad now. Really there is nobody who has gone out of the club yet. There's nobody exited the club of any major note. So we do need to get rid of some players. We do need to raise some money, going forward. We do need to cut down the wage bill again, because obviously that wage bill is getting a little bit out of hand again. You're looking at 41 players currently on the staff. We're in danger of becoming Chelsea with about 50 or 60 players. I mean, how they all fit them all in the changing rooms, God only knows. So look, we're going to start with Ridvan. So we've got a bit of a vote. I've put a poll up. That's what we're going to do. We're going to go through with each player. We're going to ask, would you sell him, keep him? Would you sell Ridvan, yes or no? At the moment, 67% of you are saying yes, you would sell him. 33% are saying no, you wouldn't sell him. Right, so what is the story with Ridvan Yilmaz? Okay, so Ridvan obviously is... Look, I'm going to make one thing really clear from the outset. Is I like Ridvan. I think Ridvan's a good footballer. I think he's a good defender. I think he is very good going forward. I think he's got a lot of positive attributes. I genuinely do. I mean, Ridvan is one of the players in this squad I really do like. I think, he's fast, he's direct, he provides width on the left, he overlaps. I think defensively, he's the best left back we've got at the club. So, I think there is a lot of positives to Ridvan. The major downfall with Ridvan, though, is the fact that he cannot stay fit. He misses so much time with injury. And that's the biggest worry for me, is how much time this young man has missed, with injuries. He does seem to be out an awful lot. And in fact, in his first season at Rangers, he managed only 15 games for the club, which is not really, what you want. And it is not good enough, certainly not good enough for us, especially when you're paying a substantial sum of money. Now, if you look at the injuries that he's had, this past season just gone, he missed 10 games. Season before that, he missed 17 games. So in total, actually, last year, he missed 27 games for Rangers. So that's an awful lot missed. In 23-24, he missed 14 games. And in 22-23, he missed a further 24 games. So he's regularly missing double-digit games every single season. And the question does remain, can you really afford to be... having a player sat on the sidelines for that, is that possible? And I just don't feel it is. And that's the one thing that kind of really lets me down with Ridvan, is this injury history of his. So the story that's going about at the moment is that Ridvan is the subject of interest from his former club at Besiktas. It's a initial loan, possibly with an option to buy in that contract, but it is initially a loan deal. Now, I do worry that just loaning players out, you do run the risk of then not getting rid of them. As we saw with Cifuentes, with Matondo, with Dowell, with Davies, we've had all these players return to us, and realistically, again, they're clogging up the wage bill, aren't they? And that's not what you want. These are players that we don't want at the club, that we don't need at the club, that we do need to get rid of as soon as is possible. But that is one risk you take. Now, the only kind of difference I'd say with Ridvan, though, is I think if Ridvan was to be moved on loan, I think he would probably do enough whilst on loan at Besiktas if he stays fit. And I think he's probably more likely to stay fit out in Turkey than he is in Scotland. I think it's the physicality, the speed of the game in Scotland that gets to him, and the number of games that we play in Scotland. that really, really affect him. So I do kind of think that if he goes to Turkey, he will impress enough, and that we can then get a sale at the end of the season. Obviously, it's a concern of not bringing money in straight away. I would prefer to be bringing cash in now for the player rather than, in 6 months to a year's time. But I do think that maybe, just maybe, it is time now to kind of say, look, thanks Ridvan, you've done a great job whilst you've been here, but I think for you and for us, it's the time to move on. It's the time to move on. I'm just hoping that's the case. I mean, that's what I would say. Like I said, I don't really want him to do, because I like him. I think he's a good footballer. I really do like Ridvan. I think he's the best left back at the club, but his injury history is pretty poor, and that's the big worry for me moving forward. And what we need is a squad that's fit 95% of the time. We need 95% of our squad available week in, week out to play. You're always going to have injuries at a club. You can never have a club that is completely injury free. That isn't possible. But you can limit your number of injuries you get. Ross Ferguson says, I voted yes to sell Ridvan, but my wife and I love him. Cracking player. Yeah, I mean, look, mate, I probably would vote yes, but I don't want to sell him. I like him. I think he's a good footballer. I think he's got a lot to add to the team. But as I've said, my worry is his fitness record is so bad. So there we go. That's Ridvan, and that's one possible exit from the club. Okay, so we're going to move on now. Look at Ben Davies. So Ben Davies obviously has returned to the club post his loan spell with Birmingham. And, obviously Ben Davies coming back. Look, Ben did all right at Birmingham, as far as I'm aware. As far as what I've heard from Birmingham fans, and and what I saw when I watched a couple of Birmingham's games on the telly. So he did okay. He did all right down there. I think he does struggle in Scotland. Don't get me wrong. I think he again struggles with the physicality of the game. He's not very good aerially, and in Scotland you do need to be good aerially to be a success. He's good with the ball at his feet. Don't get me wrong. His passing and his range of passing is very, very good indeed. So there is positives to Ben Davies's game. And a bit like Robin Propper, Ben Davies has actually looked okay in European games. But I think, to be honest with you, his time at Rangers is coming to an end a little bit. I think getting rid of him is going to be the big worry. Trying to find someone to buy him is going to be a big concern. Mr. Fox says, I'd drive Ben Davies back to Birmingham FC. So the rumour is that Birmingham are willing to pay 2.5 million for Ben Davies. That's the rumour. The thing I'd say, though, you know what? If Trabzon are going to pay 1.3 million for Souttar, and Birmingham are willing to pay us 2.5 for Ben Davies, if I was Birmingham, I'd pay 2.5 for John Souttar. I'd rather have John Souttar than Ben Davies. And I think John Souttar will be good in the English Championship. I really do. But, hey, I'm not Birmingham's chief exec, am I? So, there we go. So, Ben Davies, 2.5 mil to Birmingham. Like I said, I think he's an intelligent player. I think he's good with the ball at his feet. I think he would actually fit into Russell Martin's system. But looking at the type of players we're signing for centre-backs and that we're being linked with centre-backs, obviously we've signed Nasser Giga and we've signed Manny Fernandez. And we've been linked, obviously, with Javier Bayamba. These are big guys. These are big, physical, massive, strong guys. And Ben Davies certainly doesn't fit that mould. Now, the concern is that that Ben doesn't get the move away. And then what do you do with him? Is he then going to become part of a rotational piece in the defence? Especially given our shortage of central defenders. I suppose if John Souttar was to leave and Nsiala was to leave, then in that leave and Propper was to leave, it leaves you with just realistically Giga and Fernandez. Because Tav's not a central defender, Leon King's not good enough. So would Ben Davies therefore come into the rotation if needs be? There's a possibility there. Alan Austin says, is Ben Davies a 30k per week player? He's a bench warmer. He's on about 24 to 27 grand a week. Alan, I don't think he's on as much as 30k a week. I think it's only Tav that's on over 30k a week, which as I said the other day, he should be picking up his wages with a mask on, like a highway robbery, that is. But at the end of the day, look, I think you're probably right, fantastic Mr. Fox. says he's not good enough for us. I don't think he is. I don't think he is. Dell says, does that mean Cody will be coming in then? We are going to touch on Connor Cody. We'll get to Connor Cody a little bit later. Afternoon, Stephen. How you doing, buddy? I'm hoping we give Martin long enough to get all these new players in. We are the people. And I suppose that is the concern, isn't it? You know, looking forward, that a lot of these players, we're saying that we haven't got, they're not going to get enough time to bed in, enough time to actually experience playing for Rangers, and that's a bit of a concern, I suppose. And you know, the Panathinaikos game is in, you know, basically is in a week's time. So you know, in a week's time we'll be getting ready to play Panathinaikos, and you know, have the players had long enough to settle in? Have the players had long enough to gel as a team? That is the concern, I suppose, going into that game. On that vote, 92% of you are saying yes, that you would sell Ben Davies. Only 8% of you are saying no, you wouldn't sell Ben Davies. Gunnar says if Souttar leaves, Cody will probably come in then. We will touch on Connor Cody. But Scottish football, in my opinion, is aggressive tackling, and that is why players are out for a lengthy time. And when they do come back playing, a lot of players don't seem confident and they seem very cautious. Good. Can't have Dessers on the bench earning 27 grand a week. Can't have bench warmer on that either. No picking and choosing. I agree, Ben. I agree, Alan. I'd personally sell both Dessers and Davies. I mean, you know, I know, we all know. I would love to hear Cyril Dessers has left the club. I mean, that would make my fucking year if that waster left the club. It really genuinely would. But hey, who knows? Who knows? So Ben Davies, it's a big yes from you guys on the sale. Like I said, he is linked with Birmingham City. That appears to be the way that one is going. The Birmingham City are still very, very much interested in the player. Right, so let's talk Robin Proper next, okay? Robin Proper. So Robin Proper, I'm going to ask another question. So my question is Robin Proper, this is my question for the poll guys, for you to get your votes in. Is Robin Proper, can't do it, Robin Proper right to demand compensation before moving? Okay, that's my question. Is Robin Proper right to demand compensation before moving? I've had a lot of criticism over this. People saying that I'm in the wrong for criticising him for asking for it, saying I wouldn't take a wage cut, blah, blah, blah. I personally I think it stinks. I think it stinks. You're not going to change my mind. I think it absolutely stinks that he's asking for compensation. You know, really do. I think it's disgusting. I think, you know, the fact that he's asking us to pay him off basically before he leaves is just pathetic. I think he's been greedy. I think he is been just showing what an absolute mercenary he is. And I think if this move to Twente falls through this week, because he won't move, because we won't pay him compensation, I personally would stick him with the under-21s. He can't play for them. He just rots with them. He's got 2 years left on his contract. At the end of that 2 years, he'd be 33, 34. Let him walk for nothing. But hey, you know what? You're 33, 34, Robin Proper. You've wasted 2-3 years of your career, and nobody's going to want you at that point. So basically, you've fucked yourself over. So fuck him. I don't care. Let him rot. Let the bastard rot. Realistically, let him rot. I mean, like I said, I had nothing against the guy. I wished him all the best. But I'll be honest with you now. I absolutely fucking despise the guy. I really do. 44% of you say yes, he is right to demand compensation. If you're saying that he is right to demand compensation, I'd love to know why you think he's right to demand that compensation. Stephen McCullough says, the reason for injuries in football now is the way you train. In the good old days, you trained how you played. Your muscles were accustomed to the same rigours. Nowadays, in training, it's lightweight. I mean, that's a possibility, Stephen. I haven't seen a lot of training, so I can't possibly comment, but you're possibly right on that one. I mean, on the Robin Proper deal, like I said, it has been agreed. It's just a case of getting him to move to Twente. Like I said, he's going to have to take a wage cut. He doesn't want to do that unless Rangers pay him off. Like I said, if you're voting that he is right to demand compensation, please, in the live chat, let me know your reasons for saying that he's right to demand that compensation. I mean, personally, like I said, I think his attitude absolutely stinks. Absolutely stinks. Robin Proper, I feel the same way. Owen says, fantastic, Mr. Fox. Alan Austin says, Ryan Kent demanded $5 million to leave Fenerbahce, and you would love him back. That is a greedy wee bastard. Calling Rangers players bastards is over the top. He has played for the club. What the fuck have you done? Alan, I think that's quite rude, mate. This is a player who's trying to take money out of the club that he doesn't deserve. This is a player trying to take wages out of the club that he hasn't earned on years that he hasn't played for the club. And if you don't think, I think that's greedy. I think that's absolutely greedy. And yeah, Ryan Kent was in the wrong to demand 5 million from to leave Fenerbahce. I agree with you. I agree 100%. It was slightly different in the Kent case because Kent cancelled Fenerbahce cancelled Kent's contract. Whereas we're not cancelling Robin Proper's contract. We have agreed to a move for him. We've agreed to a new club for him. So he's got somewhere to go to earn money. Kent didn't have anywhere to go to earn money after his contract was cancelled. There was no guarantees that he would get another club. Whereas Proper has got a club to move to. So, before you insult me, Alan, please think what you're going to say. Because if you carry on being insulting, I'll just fucking ban you. Dell says, he played for the club, but he's been pish for 95% of the games. He's stealing a wage, but that's the old board's fault. I agree. The old board did agree to that wages for him. And I think Robin Proper was essentially a panic buy anyway. We obviously went for that Kike Fernandez. We didn't get him. We went for Jose Cordoba. We didn't get him. We sold Connor Goldson. We got to the start of the season and we're like, shit, we need a centre back. We'll have him. And it was a bit of a panic buy. But look, I honestly believe that he is being greedy. He has no right to that money. He has not earned that. He hasn't done that. He hasn't played those 3 years. Why is he entitled to the difference for those 3 years between what he's going to get paid at 20 and what he's going to get paid at Rangers? If he agrees to that move, which he should do because he wants the move, then, I don't know. I just think it's disgusting. If your boss offered you to relocate to Saltcoats and offered you half the money, would you jump on the train? No, I would leave the company. I'd go and get another job at another company. I wouldn't take it, but I wouldn't get compensation, mate. It doesn't work like that in industry. It just doesn't work like that in industry. It wouldn't. If I in my present job, if I moved for less money, I wouldn't get paid any compensation for it. That would be my stupid decision to move for that less money. And if Proper wants to get paid by Rangers for those 3 years at the wage that he's agreed, then he stays at Rangers for 3 years, he rots in the reserves, and he gets paid his 3 years worth of money. He's got to decide, what does he want more, money or to play football? And to me, footballers are becoming fucking mercenaries. They're becoming mercenaries. Do they want to play football or do they want to earn money? Yes, they kind of go hand in hand, but for me, Proper is in the wrong on this. He is in the wrong. He is not entitled to a penny from our club for the next 3 years. Because at the end of the day, if you left your job, so if I left my job tomorrow, right? If I went into work tomorrow and resigned and left my job tomorrow, would they pay me for the next 3 years? No, they wouldn't. So why would I'm not entitled to that money. I'm not entitled to 34, 35, 40 grand a year for the next 3 years if I leave my present job. So why should he be entitled to money that he hasn't fucking earned? He hasn't earned a single penny of that next 3 years. And for him to sit there and say, I want compensation, I want you to pay me what I'm going to miss out on by leaving your football club to go to this other football club, I would seriously turn, if I was the chairman of Rangers, I would turn round to him and say, right, you are going and you are rotting in the reserves for the next 3 years. You are going to sit in the reserves and you've committed career suicide. For the next 2-3 years, you'll sit in the reserves. You won't train with the first team. You can fuck right off and you don't play. And you sit and you rot. And then when you're 33, 34 and your contract has ended and you leave our football club, you'll have wasted 3 years of your career. You'll end up on a retirement thing. Do one. Do one. Seriously, mate. Do one. I don't have any sympathy for Robin Proper. I think the guy's an absolute fucking tool. Absolute tool. Stephen says, if you think he deserves compensation, you must be a Celtic fan. Surely we are owed money from Proper for not delivering on the park. We still paid for him being shite. Chris says, if the club give him a contract, if they want him to leave for 250 grand a year less, he has every right to ask for compensation a bit. He's leaving 500 quid a table during short career. I disagree, Chris, 100%. He's not going to play football. He is sharp, going to ask to play football. When Russell Martin says, you're not part of my plans, if you want to play football, you've got to go somewhere else, he's going to have to move. I disagree 100%. If a Proper doesn't want to take a pay cut, stay, take the money and get paid for nothing. like he did in his first year. Agreed, 100%. Chris, so you're suggesting the club give up more money for a player they aren't going to use by keeping him where? Yeah, that's what I say. What else are you going to do? What else are you going to do? Let the bastard rot. Let the bastard rot. He's a greedy fucking cunt. If you're not doing the job you're paid to do, then ask to leave. Then the job you wouldn't be getting compensation. Exactly, 100%. If my job asked me tomorrow to leave, they would not pay me compensation for leaving. Take the 1.5 million, give him a farewell card with 150 end of story. Proper is biting the hand that's fed him. He's acting like a child, says Ross. I agree. I think that Robin Proper is a greedy, horrible, nasty little individual, and he needs getting rid of from our football club. I really do. Are we certain it's not Martin holding him back to get a squad submitted? Possibly, but I think he needs to go. No, because what Russell Martin said was, it's now down to Robin to agree that deal. That's what Russell Martin said. He said in that interview that he gave to Rangers TV that the deal has been agreed with Twente. It's now down to Robin to agree with that. So we'd be doing ourselves out of $1 million for nothing. That would make no sense. Chris, sometimes you play hardball with these players. You force them to move. That's what doing that does to players. If you say to a player, you're going to rot in the reserves for the next 2 to 3 seasons, and then no one's going to want you at the end of that contract, you force that player to move. You force that player out of the club. Unfortunately, players have way too much power these days. You know, you go back to the 60s and 70s when the Fergusons, and the early 80s when Alex Ferguson was around, and Brian Clough. The managers had the power. Now the players have all the power, and it's wrong. It's disgusting. Look, you're not going to convince me. Proper doesn't deserve a fucking penny. The guy doesn't deserve a penny. It's disgusting. Did Proper ask for compensation when he came to us? No. Well, you're not getting any from us. Exactly, Stephen. He has never looked like a centre-half. Get him to fuck, says Loop. To be honest, the way Proper deal, it would be lose-lose situation, says Dell. For me, Proper's got to go. He's got to go. And I think if he stays, he doesn't play. He rots in the reserves. I think if he is part of any squad, then if he ever gets on the pitch, we let him know exactly how we feel about him. We let him know what a money-grabbing scumbag he is. Airwolf Bobo Balde sat in the stands. You're right. Like I said, I am outraged at Robin Proper's attitude. You know, absolutely outraged at his attitude. I think asking for compensation to move, you know, to a club where you're going to actually play football week in, week out, away from a club where you're not going to play, just shows that to him, it's not the game that's important. That Robin Proper is the classic definition of a mercenary. That's what he is. He's a mercenary. That's all he is. He's an absolute mercenary. The guy needs to go. He needs to go, and he needs to go today, realistically. Dell says, why would you want to stay at a job where no one likes you? Exactly, and no one wants you. Agreed. Katic, Itten, etc. needed the same push, nothing new. Yeah, we need to just force him out. We need to get rid, force him out, get him gone. Like I said, I can't believe 26% of you think he deserves compensation. I think you need to give your heads a wobble. I really do. On that one, genuinely think you need to give your heads a wobble. Right, the John Souttar situation. Obviously, the bid is now 1.3 million. So my question in the poll that I'm going to ask you now is: 1.3 million a fair price for Souttar, given he has 1 year left? So a new poll, guys, to vote in. It's going up now. Is 1.3 million a fair price for Souttar, given he has 1 year left? Paul Robertson says, Owen, what do you think about things Martin said about Nico going forward? I haven't seen them, mate. I have not seen them. I've been busy with stuff today, so I haven't seen them yet. I will go and watch the interview after this podcast. Then Bobo did nothing after sitting in the stands when he left. Clubs don't like that kind of player, says Stephen. Agreed. Worrying about this qualifier. Airwolf, so am I, getting the players to bed in. Right, so guys, get your votes on the Souttar situation. So John Souttar, 1.3 million. That's apparently the initial bid from Trabzon. I don't think 1.3 million is a realistic price. I think, you know, the one thing you kind of got to say though, going forward, is that, well, I suppose at the end of the day, he has only got 1 year left on his contract, and the moment a player has 1 year left on their contract, then, you know, their value is greatly dropped. You know, it really is greatly dropped. But I still think that 1.3 million is a bit of an insult. Is a bit of an insult for a player of John Souttar's calibre. I think he's worth a lot more than that. I think, if they came in with, say, 2.5-3 million for him, I think that's probably a lot more realistic for the player. I genuinely believe that 1.3 is a bit of an insult. I would look for a little bit more. Now, hopefully, that is just an opening salvo in this, in this transfer, and that's, going forward, there is more money going to come in for him, because I don't think that is. That is a fair price. And like I just said earlier in the podcast, if Birmingham are willing to pay 2.5 million for Ben Davies, I would say to him, look, give us 2.5 million, you can have John Souttar instead, because John Souttar is a better defender. So, I mean, look, that's just my take on it. Genuinely is just my take on it. I'm sure you've all got your own takes on the situation, and you are voting in the poll at the moment. And at the moment, 40% of you say yes, it's a fair price. 60% say no, it's not a fair price. What else? So we got JD Gasama says no, it's not a fair price. It's a great deal for Trabzon, says Alan. I got my tickets for the game next week. Good on you, mate. Odder than Ben Davies instead. I'd give them Ben Davies instead. I would have said 3 million, says Ross. I think that's probably fair. Delby says 2.5 upwards. Leon King, another greedy one, not moving on. I agree, Airwolf. He's staying for the wages. How much was the Lille bid for Hamza? 13 million. I think it was. Rangers are holding out for 15. Some people have said there's a 4 million gap and Rangers want 17 million. That's 17 million euro, which is about 15 million pounds. We will get to Hamza, don't worry. But I would want some more money for John Souttar. I don't think 1.3 million is a fair price for the player. I think, given the fact that he's a Scottish international, given the fact that he's a very good Scottish international, yes, his fitness is a concern. Yes, he does make mistakes, but I still think 1.3 million for a player of John Souttar's calibre is a bit of an insult, to be perfectly honest with you. Now, if Trabzon won't go up on that 1.3, then I say we turn around and we go, get lost, get stuff. You're not having the player. He's not for sale, because 1.3 million is not enough. Certainly not. Airwolf says Liverpool game destroyed him. Is that the Leon? Yeah, Leon King. To be fair, mate, he was up against Mo Salah, Bobby Firmino, and Sadio Mane, wasn't he? And they destroyed Premier League defences. There we go. It's enough to convince John Souttar to sit tight and pocket the 1.3 million as a signing on fee in January. That's a good point, Alan. Yeah, he could well do that. What's happening with Matondo? Well, at the moment, mate, he's just come back from injury, so nothing's happening with Matondo. He's still at the club. He isn't going anywhere. So that's where we're up to with that one, buddy. That's where we're up to with that one. So, look, at the end of the day, I think for me, with Souttar, we turn around, we say no. You're not having him for 1.3 million. Give us between 2.5 and 3, and then we'll talk business. I don't think 1.5 is at all a fair price at all for that player. Okay, let's move it along a little bit. Let's talk Cifuentes. Let's talk Jose Cifuentes. So my poll question is this: would you cancel Cifu's contract? Okay, because it appears from what is coming out of the club that the most likely outcome for Cifuentes is they're just going to cancel his contract. That appears to be what is being discussed. So, I mean, I don't know. Let me know. Colin McGregor says, I hope this JD is as good as career as our last DJ. Derek Johnston, that would be fantastic, wouldn't it? Unbelievable. Matondo is injured till August the 5th. August, 5 minutes before the window shuts, probably, mate. Can I ask who are these European class players who we should be signing? That's a good question, Airwolf. That's a good question. We can't afford them, can we, buddy? So, yeah, look. Would you cancel Cifu's contract? So it appears that Cifuentes is not liked and not wanted at the club. It appears that obviously the deal to Aris all fell through. It all collapsed, and that they didn't want him. So, at the end of the day, we've got to look at this in terms of what we can get for him. I mean, I think cancelling his contract is a little bit stupid. I do think cancelling his contract is a little bit daft, unless Rangers are seeing it as literally there's no chance of getting rid of him. However, the talk is that if his contract is cancelled, that he'll then go back to the MLS. Well, if there's MLS teams are interested in him, why not go to them and say, right, give us even a nominal fee, give us 250,000 for him, give us $500,000 for him, just give us something for him, and you can have him. Just get some money for him. That to me would be the best way forward, you know. But he has not really lived up to the hype, has he? He came here as being the game changer, has been the player that would change Rangers, the player that would be the difference between Rangers being second place and first place. That was what Michael Beale said, and it never really lived up to it, did he? He's always struggled. He's always not looked great. He's always not been good enough. You know, I mean, I don't think we'll get our money back on him. We paid $1.5 million for him, which we didn't need to pay. We could have waited till the end of the season and had him for nothing, which is a bit of bad business by Beale and by Michael Beale, full stop. But in terms of cancelling his contract, I just think that you're going to end up paying him a shit ton of money and you're going to get nothing back for him, which to me seems a bit daft. Although 69% of you say yes, you would cancel his contract. Another loan for Sifu, I suppose, that could be a possible, Alan. Do you think we should have just took the money from Aris to get some money back? I agree, Betdell. I would have just taken whatever they were prepared to bid. If they were going to give us £1 million for him, you know, I would have said, yeah, take it. Let's have it. We need young, fit players, not injury-prone players. Luke, you're correct. We do. Malky, hi Malky, how you doing, buddy? Says Malky McClellan says we must be able to get something from him. Yeah, I mean, I would say we have. I mean, it's just like I said that story that is going round is about cancelling his contract, and to me it seems stupid to cancel his contract and not at least try to get some value for him and to get something back on him. Ross Ferguson says Beale made us look like a laughingstock. He certainly did with some of his dealings, didn't he? You know, Michael Beale, the great wheeler dealer, looked like Danny Dyer, didn't he, in the end? Right, prick. But there we go. Right, let's move it on. Move it on. So that poll there is closed. We're going to have one final discussion on a player that is currently in the media, which is Hamza. Okay, so Hamza is subject of a bid from Lille. Apparently that bid is 13 million. Rangers are holding out for 15 million. Yeah, was it not reported about 1.2? Dell, if you know what, I think Rangers would have been daft to turn that down. I think if that money was truly on the table, I would have taken it. I would have taken that money. I really would. Right, question for you. Is 15 million a fair price? Would you sell Hamza for 15 million? Right, so that's the reported option. That Lille have come in with a 13 million pound bid, but Rangers are holding out for 15 million pounds for the player. You know, that's what they're holding out for. Half the problem is we take defensive, boring-minded managers of late, says PJ. Interesting, yeah. Clement was a bit like that, wasn't he? Definitely. Rangers holding out for 15 million for the player. Now, like I said on the video earlier, there is a video. I'm not going to spend too long on Hamza because I did release a video about this earlier today. So, you know, check it out. You know, I think to me, if Lille do come back with 15 million, I think that represents a really good profit. I think the problem is, Airwolf says if Hamza downs tools, you'll be lucky to get half of 50. I don't think he'll down tools, but, you know, I think players get their heads turned. You know, the moment sort of big money offers start coming in for players, they do get their heads turned. And the worry is that Hamza gets his head turned, that he doesn't really want to stay at the club anymore. And he doesn't perhaps give as much as he could have done. And you then got that problem there. Look, I wouldn't say I'd love to keep him for another season. Of course I would, because I think if you keep him for another season, he's going to be worth more than 15 million in a year's time. In a year's time, if he plays regularly, starts as number 9, plays as our centre forward, we don't play that Muppet Dest as we played Hamza, I think you're looking at a player that's going to be worth 25, 30 million. Really do. But realistically, I think, you know, even if we sell him for 15 million, we're still turning a substantial profit on the player. And I think, to be honest with you, Lille will come back with that 15 million. I think the deal will end up getting done. That's what I'm reading, certainly, and hearing out there. Let's have a look. Alan Gemmell says, if you're going to have to pay the previous club, have a sell-on fee. Yeah, I think we do need to have a sell-on fee. We do need to insert that. There is a sell-on clause in Hamza's contract. I don't know what the percentage is, but as I said on the video earlier, it's not 30%. I would take 15 million for Hamza if that includes a 25% sell-on. I think we do have to insist on a sell-on of between 20 and 25%. I agree, Chris. If Hamza goes, does that? Well, that's 16 million striker. Hi, wee man, how you doing? I agree with Fantastic Mr. Fox, selling with add-ons. Yeah, hope Rangers don't make the same mistakes like I did with Buffalo. Yeah, that's a good point, GD Jersey. Yeah, that's a really good point. Really good point. Can Russell Martin be trusted to play him there? Barry and Clement misused him. They did, certainly, yeah. Philippe Clement used him on the wing. Barry Bassett used him on the wing. Absolutely. I would take 13 million. Come on, we got him for 1.5 mil, says Malky. But this is the new club, mate, isn't it? They're holding out for market value for these players. They're not prepared to take cut price deals anymore. That's kind of where we're at with that one, isn't it? He's already agreed terms. We have a replacement waiting in the wings. 15 million, 30% sell on, bye Hamza. I would do that deal, Alan. I would do that deal tomorrow. I really would. Loop says, I would keep Hamza for another season. If he does go, who'll be replacing with? Well, that's Dor Turgeman, mate. That's to talk about him. But Hamza, I think we deal on 15 million. And like I said, as long as we get a sell-on clause put into that contract, I genuinely can't see a problem with it. I genuinely don't see a problem with that deal being through. If we need good, solid striker, Hamza is the answer. We can't afford to bring in another striker that it might not work. That's a good point. I mean, but we, man, and everybody really, there is a risk with any striker. There's a risk with any single signing. There really is a risk with any single signing. The Cyril Dessers one appears to have stalled. I mean, according to the reports that are coming out of Greece, there still is desire from AEK Athens to sell him. There really is. All we need now is Martin to say JD is a future prospect and needs time, lol. Well, he hasn't said that, PJ. I did read out the comments at the start of the podcast, mate, and the way Russell Martin was talking was that he sees him as a starter from day one. There we go. But no, in terms of Dessers, I think if we can get 3-4 million for him from AEK Athens, I would take it, certainly. Time to move on. The guy's not getting any younger. I think he's not going to play. He's not going to play. Elf says sell Dessers all-round play. Agreed. Giga will play in the AFCONs and Fernandez will be eligible for Nigeria if he does well. Problem. I agree on that one. 75% of you would sell Dessers, 25% of you wouldn't sell Dessers. If you're voting no to selling Dessers, you say no, we shouldn't sell Dessers. Tell me why we shouldn't sell Dessers. I'd sell him for a can of Red Bull. I really would. Only sell Dessers if we have a top quality striker in, as he's good enough for a sub. The only problem is, Mr. Fox, would you pay a sub 27 grand a week? I wouldn't. I certainly wouldn't be paying him 27 grand a week. We have lost so much money by not selling players at the right time. Malky, you're spot on with this, and that's the danger with Dessers now. He's got 2 years left on his contract. If we hang on to him for a bit longer, well, we ain't going to extend him. So the moment he gets down to 12 months to go, you're not going to get hardly any money for him. So I honestly think it's time to move the man on. And as Airwolf says, his all-round play is awful. He's awful. He doesn't score enough goals. He is poor. He's just not good enough. He doesn't, and also the fact that I think a lot of people don't realise is he doesn't fit Russell Martin's system. He's not fast enough. He's not aggressive enough. He doesn't do the high press well enough. I just don't think he plays. I know you aren't Dessers' biggest fan, but I'd take him at a number 2 striker, worst case scenario. Mate, I wouldn't even take him as a pub player. I wouldn't even start him up for my pub team. Need to drag Dessers to Greece. It seems he doesn't seem up for it. I think he is up for it, GD Jersey. It's just obviously, it is a lot of money. Red Bulls aren't cheap, are they? Especially a 4-pack. But I'd sell Dessers tomorrow. I really would sell Dessers tomorrow and get rid of him. Issue will arise if you sell Dessers and new striker provides less goals. I agree. But Airwolf, that's the big risk with any signing, isn't it? Realistically, Rangers could go out. I mean, this is never going to happen, right? Let's get this clear. This is never going to happen. But Rangers could go out tomorrow and they could sign Julian Alvarez from Atletico Madrid, or they could sign Kylian Mbappe from Real Madrid, and it might not work out. He might not score goals. That's just the way it is. You never know, do you? You never know. You never know. You never know. You never know. I'd have Shankland in already and Dessers in Athens. Yeah, but suppose Shankland has gone. Shankland has gone already. He signed a new contract with Hearts. He ain't going anywhere. So no, I can't see that happening, buddy. I can't see that. That's obviously not going to happen now. He's committed to Hearts, isn't he? So that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. Although you raise a good point, second choice striker that sits on the bench at 25 plus isn't what the club needs. Valid point. Yeah, £27,000 a week to be a backup striker is way too much money for me to do that. I mean, so look, we're looking at, that's what we're looking at. Is Alvarez European class? What, the one that plays for Atletico Madrid, Airwolf? He's mint. Mate, he's absolute quality. Julian Alvarez played for Man City, played for a number of quality clubs. Whatever the outcome, they need to hurry up and get the deals done. Agreed. I think there is a real need to move players out. There is a real need to get rid of players, isn't there? To get players moved on quicker sooner rather than later, especially given obviously the size of the squad, the amount we must be paying for players in wages. It must be astronomical at the moment. It really must be very high. So we do need to move those players on. Look, in terms of players coming in, obviously, the Dor-Turgeman links are still there. I do think that the Dor-Turgeman one depends very much on us selling Dessers or Hamza, which I think obviously will take time. So I don't know on that one. I think, Turgeman for me, I would sign Dor-Turgeman. Like I said, I don't want to spend too long on this because I did talk about that on the video this morning. If you're not sure what I've got to say about Turgeman, watch this morning's video. But I would sign him tomorrow. I think he's a good player. I think he would do very well for Rangers. I think he'd be a quality player for Rangers. I really do think he would be good for Rangers, Dor-Turgeman. Alvarez signs for Rangers. He doesn't know the Scottish game. Lol. That would be the argument, Werewolf. Mate, if we sign Mbappe and Alvarez to play up front for Rangers this season, that would be the argument from some of our fans, wouldn't it? JD Gasama says, glad Gassama is finally here. Yeah, me too, buddy. Me too. The other links, obviously, we've obviously got the link to Bayamba from Volendam. Again, I think that will be a good signing if it happens, if it comes off. Again, I don't want to spend too long on that because I've done a video on that. Check out the video. I'm not going to repeat myself. Connor Cody, I think, again, is one that is a possible. It's a possible, but there's talk of him going back to Wolves. There's talk of him staying at Leicester. I think that one is very much held up on... I think it's very much held up on the whole what happens with Leicester's new manager. I think, any exits from Leicester seem to have stopped now until Martí Cifuentes gets there. So I think, Connor Cody coming to Rangers will very much depend on what happens, going forward with the manager there. So I think that, again, is one that is in the offing, definitely. Look, guys, that is it for this afternoon. I've got a few things I need to go and take care of. Thank you for watching the transfer take this afternoon. We have primarily concentrated on players on the out. We will do a podcast where we concentrate on players coming in. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your views and your opinions, even if you haven't agreed with me. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed the content, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. I will catch you on the next one.
You